Imagine a scientist peering into a glowing screen, watching patterns of brain activity light up as someone meditates or prays. With a satisfied nod, the scientist declares, "This is it. We've found the seat of spirituality, a few firing neurons in the parietal lobe." It's a seductive moment, a scene that promises certainty, spirituality, demystified and reduced to circuits and chemicals. But then comes the question, is that really all there is? Have we truly captured the depth of a mystical experience, the awe of divine connection, or the transformative power of faith? Or have we simply captured its shadow on the wall of a cave? Reductionist approaches to neurotheology start with an alluring simplicity. If spirituality lights up the brain, it must live there, confined to networks of neurons and bursts of neurotransmitters. For decades, these studies have sought to map meditation, prayer, and transcendence onto the brain's topography. We've learned about the temporal lobes, which might foster a sense of divine presence, and the default mode network, which dissolves during meditation, making way for unity with the cosmos. These findings are undeniably fascinating. They give us a glimpse into the how of spiritual experience, how the body responds, how the brain transforms, but the moment they're used to claim the why, they falter. Reductionism promises understanding by breaking things into parts. It tells us that religion evolved because it helped our ancestors survive, that meditation is valuable because it reduces stress, and that mystical visions are just misfires in the brain. But here's the problem. Spirituality isn't a collection of isolated mechanisms. It's a web of interconnections, a tapestry of mind, body, and spirit woven together in ways that defy dissection. Reductionism can point to the thread, but it cannot describe the pattern. More troubling still is how these approaches sideline the essence of spiritual experience. Ask someone who's felt the boundless love of the divine, who's been transformed by a moment of sacred clarity, or who's touched the infinite during meditation, and they won't describe it in terms of serotonin levels or neural activity. They'll speak of transcendence, unity, meaning. By insisting that spirituality is nothing more than the brain at work, reductionism robs these experiences of their depth, their beauty, and perhaps their truth. This isn't just an academic critique. The dismissal of spirit, of the possibility that there's something more than what can be measured, reflects a cultural bias. It's the echo of a worldview that says only the material is real, that consciousness is a fluke of evolution, and that our most profound experiences are ultimately illusions. But ancient traditions, from the Vedas of India to the mystics of every faith, tell a different story. They speak of the interconnectedness of all things, of a unity where mind, body, and spirit are not separate but deeply intertwined. What if we listened to those traditions and reimagined neurotheology not as a search for isolated answers, but as a study of relationships? What if we stopped trying to reduce spirituality to neurons and started exploring how the mind, body, and spirit shape one another in a dynamic, living interplay? This is where the mind-body-spirit framework steps in, not as a rejection of science, but as an expansion of its scope. It invites us to consider how focused attention in the mind calms the body, making space for spiritual transcendence. It shows us how rituals, shared by bodies in communion, generate emotional resonance that connects us to something greater. It reminds us that spirituality isn't confined to the brain or the body, but emerges from their union, infused with meaning and purpose. Through this lens, neurotheology becomes not a reduction but a synthesis, a bridge between the measurable and the ineffable, the ancient and the modern. It honors the contributions of neuroscience while refusing to ignore the depth of the human spirit. And it offers something that reductionism cannot, a framework for understanding spirituality as both grounded and transcendent, a tapestry of interwoven threads whose beauty lies in their interconnection. So let's set aside the glowing brain scans for a moment and ask ourselves a deeper question. If the mind, body, and spirit are not three separate silos but three facets of a unified whole, how can we approach spirituality in a way that respects that unity? The answer, I believe, begins with a triadic understanding. one that captures not just the threads, but the entire pattern. Picture yourself sitting quietly, eyes closed, your breath steady and calm. At first your thoughts swirl, jumping from task to worry to memory, but slowly, with deliberate focus, the chatter begins to fade. Your breathing deepens, your body softens, and a quiet calm washes over you. In that stillness, something profound happens, not just in your mind, but throughout your entire being. Your heart rate steadies, your muscles release their tension, and an unmistakable sense of peace arises. And then, as if emerging from the silence itself, a feeling of connection blooms, a sense of unity, of belonging, of transcendence. That is serenity. Serenity is not just an absence of stress. It is an emergent state arising from the seamless interplay of mind, body, and spirit. It begins with mental focus, the ability to direct your attention inward, to quiet the relentless background noise of the mind. Neuroscience tells us that this focus suppresses the default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for self-referential thinking and often for stress and anxiety. When the mind quiets, it sends a powerful signal to the body. It's safe to let go. And let go it does. As the mind settles, the body responds, stepping out of its constant fight-or-flight state. Stress hormones like cortisol recede, heart rate variability improves, and the nervous system moves into balance. Physiological relaxation is not just a side effect. It is the body's way of creating fertile ground for the spirit to awaken. The calm body supports the focused mind, and together, they prepare the way for something greater. From this foundation of focus and relaxation emerges transcendent awareness. It is here, in the stillness, that many report a profound sense of connection, whether to a higher power, the universe, or simply the present moment. This awareness is not easily measured by science, yet it is deeply felt and unmistakably real. People describe it as a sense of unity, of being part of something infinitely larger than themselves, and this experience of transcendence in turn deepens the cycle. The clarity it brings reinforces the mental discipline needed to stay focused. The peace it fosters sustains the body's relaxation. What makes serenity so remarkable is not just how it feels, but how it sustains itself. The focused mind quiets the body, the relaxed body opens the door to transcendence, and the transcendent awareness inspires the mind to focus anew. This interplay creates a feedback loop, a living, breathing example of how interconnected mind, body, and spirit truly are. Without focus, the body remains tense, and transcendence becomes unreachable. Without relaxation, the mind struggles to quiet itself. Without transcendence, the effort feels hollow, disconnected from any deeper meaning. Serenity is a state we can cultivate, a harmony we can consciously create. Meditation, for instance, trains the mind to focus, reducing the activity of the default mode network and calming the body's stress response. Breathwork synchronizes the rhythm of the breath with the heartbeat, coaxing the body into relaxation. Mindfulness, whether practiced through movement, prayer, or stillness, keeps us present in the moment, open to the possibilities of transcendence. But serenity is not just about techniques, it's about integration. It's about recognizing that the mind, body, and spirit are not separate compartments to be addressed in isolation, but aspects of a whole working together in profound harmony. It is within that harmony that true peace arises, not the fleeting calm of a quiet afternoon, but the lasting serenity that transforms how we move through the world. So when we talk about serenity, we're not talking about something abstract or unattainable. We're talking about a state of being that is deeply human and entirely accessible. It begins with a single moment of focus. It grows with the body's softening, and it blossoms in the spirit's connection to something greater. It is the stillness we find within and the infinite we discover beyond. That is the essence of serenity. Throughout human history, the act of coming together in shared spiritual practice has held profound significance. From ancient tribal rituals to the grand cathedrals of medieval Europe, from the rhythmic drumming of indigenous ceremonies to the synchronized chanting of Eastern traditions, the thread of sacred communion runs through the fabric of human culture. It is a state where individuals transcend their separateness and step into a collective experience of the divine. This state of shared spirituality does more than foster group cohesion. It awakens something profound, something deeply human. The Vedic sages spoke of satsang, the gathering in truth, where spiritual seekers would unite in shared reverence and enlightenment. In Christian traditions, the Eucharist embodies the idea of communion both with the divine and with one another. Indigenous practices such as circle dances or shared ceremonies emphasize the unity of the group and their connection to the natural and spiritual worlds. Across time and culture, sacred communion has been seen not merely as a practice, but as an essential way of being together, transcending individuality to find a greater collective purpose. This ancient understanding resonates deeply with what modern science reveals about human connection. When people come together in shared ritual, their emotions synchronize, their bodies align, and their spirits find harmony. The state of sacred communion emerges as an interplay between three elements: emotional resonance, social bonding, and communal spiritual connection. These elements are not isolated, they feed into and amplify one another, creating a harmonious feedback loop that sustains and deepens the experience. Sacred communion begins with emotional resonance, the shared feelings of awe, joy, or reverence that arise during collective rituals. Imagine standing in a crowd, singing together, feeling the swell of emotion that seems to flow through everyone at once. This resonance isn't merely anecdotal, it can be observed. Brain imaging studies show that when people engage in synchronized activities like singing, chanting, or dancing, their neural patterns begin to align, as if their minds are harmonizing with one another. This shared emotional state paves the way for deeper connection. As emotions resonate, they activate the body's social bonding mechanisms. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, is released, fostering trust, empathy, and cohesion. This physiological effect is profound. It literally draws people closer together, not just emotionally, but physically, through shared rhythms and synchrony. Whether it's the unison of voices in a hymn or the unified movement of a dance, the body becomes a vessel for connection. From this interplay of mind and body emerges the pinnacle of sacred communion, communal spiritual connection. In this state, individuals report feeling united not only with each other but with something greater, whether it's the divine, the cosmos, or the collective human spirit. This shared sense of the sacred amplifies the emotional resonance and strengthens the physiological bonds within the group. It is no longer a gathering of individuals but a unified whole, transcending the sum of its parts. What makes sacred communion extraordinary is its harmonic nature. Emotional resonance strengthens physiological bonding, which in turn deepens spiritual connection. As this spiritual connection grows, it reinforces the shared emotions of awe and reverence, creating a self-sustaining cycle. It is a living, breathing example of the harmonic relationship. Emotions and physical bonding lead to communal spirituality. Communal spirituality enhances physical bonding, and together they amplify the shared emotions that initiated the cycle. Sacred communion reminds us that spirituality is not always an individual pursuit. It flourishes in the spaces between us, in the shared song, the collective prayer, the ritual that transcends isolation. It shows us that our minds, our bodies, and our spirits are designed not just to connect, but to harmonize, to create something greater together than we could ever achieve alone. Techniques to cultivate sacred communion abound, both ancient and modern. Group chanting, like kirtan in Hindu practice, synchronizes breath, sound, and emotion. Communal dances, such as the whirling dervishes of Sufi mysticism, use movement to align the body with the sacred. Even secular gatherings like mindfulness retreats or humanitarian efforts tap into this triad by fostering shared purpose and collective meaning. These practices are not just traditions, they are technologies of connection, finely tuned to awaken the harmony of mind, body, and spirit. Sacred communion is a reminder that to be human is to belong. not in a superficial sense, but in a profound and sacred way. It calls us to come together, to resonate with one another, and to transcend the boundaries of the self in pursuit of something greater. In doing so, we honor the wisdom of our ancestors, the insights of science, and the deepest truths of our own being. From the ancient breath-focused practices of the yogic traditions to the controlled breathing techniques employed by modern mindfulness practitioners, the relationship between breath, balance, and spiritual awareness has long been a cornerstone of human understanding. Across cultures and eras, the act of intentionally controlling the breath has been recognized not just as a physical exercise, but as a profound spiritual tool, a way to harmonize mind, body, and spirit into a state of energetic convergence. In the Vedic tradition, pranayama, the practice of breath control, is described as the bridge between the physical and the subtle. The word itself, prana, meaning life force, and ayama, meaning extension or control, captures its essence, the deliberate expansion and refinement of life energy. Taoist philosophy speaks of qi as a similar vital force, cultivated through practices like qigong and tai chi. Even the Greek concept of pneuma and the Latin spiritus, both meaning breath and spirit, reflect an intrinsic understanding of breath as the thread linking the material and the transcendent. Modern science affirms what these ancient traditions have long held. Deliberate breathwork has a profound impact on both the mind and the body. It calms mental activity, regulates the autonomic nervous system, and creates the conditions for spiritual awareness. This triad, mental calm, autonomic regulation, and the flow of life energy, is what we call energetic convergence. It begins with mental calm, achieved through deliberate, focused breathing. When we control our breath, the mind shifts from a state of chaos to one of clarity. Studies show that slow, intentional breathing reduces activity in brain regions associated with anxiety and enhances attention and mindfulness. This mental stillness is not simply a side effect, it is the first step in aligning the triad. As the mind calms, the breath acts as a bridge to the autonomic nervous system, regulating the body's physiological responses. Deep, rhythmic breathing activates the parasympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system, the body's natural rest and digest state. This is reflected in improved heart rate variability, HRV, a key marker of physiological balance and resilience. When the body achieves this balance, it creates a foundation for the spirit to awaken. From this harmonious alignment of mind and body arises the flow of life energy, the subjective experience of vitality and interconnectedness described in traditions around the world. In yoga, it is the movement of prana through the nadis, or subtle energy channels. In qigong, it is the cultivation of qi, circulating through the meridians. While science cannot yet measure this flow directly, its effects are evident in personal accounts of heightened awareness, profound stillness, and a sense of unity with oneself and the universe. What sets energetic convergence apart is its convergent structure, a dynamic interplay where each element not only influences the others but aligns them into a unified state. Mental calm regulates autonomic responses and allows the flow of spiritual energy to emerge. Autonomic regulation supports mental clarity and facilitates a deeper perception of life energy. And the flow of energy itself reinforces the balance of mind and body, creating a virtuous cycle of harmony. The techniques that foster energetic convergence are as varied as they are profound. Breathwork practices like box breathing, 4-7-8 breathing, and nadi shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, offer simple but powerful tools to quiet the mind and balance the body. Movement-based practices like yoga and tai chi combine breath with deliberate motion, guiding energy flow and deepening the experience. Even modern biofeedback technologies, which allow individuals to monitor and adjust their HRV in real time, echo the wisdom of these ancient methods. But energetic convergence is more than a technique or a physiological state. It is a spiritual alignment. It is the realization that the mind, body, and spirit are not separate entities, but aspects of a greater whole, working together to create balance, vitality, and transcendence. It is the moment when the breath becomes more than just air. It becomes a conduit for energy, a tool for awareness, and a pathway to the infinite. The beauty of energetic convergence lies in its accessibility. It requires no temple, no teacher, no elaborate ritual, only the willingness to pause, to breathe, and to align. It reminds us that the path to balance and transcendence is not found in complexity, but in simplicity, in the fundamental rhythm of life itself. It is a state as ancient as the first breath and as immediate as the next. Throughout human history, sound has been recognized as a bridge between the material and the divine. Ancient cultures understood what modern science is just beginning to explore. Sound has the power to align our inner worlds with the cosmos, to create harmony between mind, body, and spirit. The act of chanting, whether it's the rhythmic repetition of Vedic mantras, the resonant Om of yoga, or the Gregorian chants that fill medieval cathedrals, has been revered as a sacred practice, one that creates a profound state of resonance with the divine. The Vedas describe sound, or shabda, as the essence of creation itself. The primordial they tell us, is not just a sound, but the vibration from which the entire universe emanates. In Christian mysticism, the phrase, "in the beginning was the Word," reflects a similar reverence for sound as the foundation of existence. Indigenous traditions, too, have long used rhythmic chanting and drumming to connect with spiritual realms, aligning their own vibrations with the energies of the earth and the cosmos. Across cultures, the sacredness of sound lies in its ability to harmonize the human being with something far greater. Modern science affirms that chanting is not merely symbolic. It has measurable effects on the mind and body, effects that pave the way for spiritual awareness. Through the triad of cognitive harmony, vibrational resonance, and sacred alignment, we find the essence of what we call divine resonance, a state in which chanting integrates cognition, physical vibration, and spiritual connection into a shared rhythm, creating profound harmony. This resonance begins with cognitive harmony. As the mind focuses on repetitive sounds, whether a mantra or a prayer, it enters a state of meditative flow. The repetition calms intrusive thoughts and fosters clarity. EEG studies reveal that during chanting, the brain produces more alpha waves, patterns associated with relaxation, creativity, and a focused yet tranquil state. The mind becomes attuned, its rhythms steady and aligned, ready to engage with the deeper vibrations of the body. This cognitive alignment amplifies vibrational resonance in the body. Sound vibrations, particularly those produced during chanting, travel through the vocal cords, chest, and diaphragm, activating the vagus nerve, a key regulator of the autonomic nervous system. This activation calms the body, reducing stress and enhancing resilience. Measurable increases in vagal tone during chanting demonstrate how physical vibrations influence physiological balance, creating a state of embodied harmony. As the body vibrates in alignment, the final element of the triad emerges, sacred alignment. It is here, in the space created by cognitive harmony and vibrational resonance, that individuals report a profound sense of connection to the divine or the cosmos. This alignment is not easily quantified, but it is deeply felt, a shared resonance with something beyond the self. In these moments, sound becomes a vessel for the sacred, carrying the practitioner into a state of unity with divine or cosmic energies. What makes divine resonance unique is its conjoined structure. Each element integrates and amplifies the others, forming a deeply interconnected system. Vibrational resonance in the body harmonizes the mind's focus and strengthens the sense of sacred connection. Cognitive harmony sharpens attention on the sound, deepening its vibrational impact, and the awareness of sacred alignment heightens sensitivity to the body's resonance, creating a feedback loop that sustains the state of divine resonance. Techniques for cultivating divine resonance are as timeless as they are universal. Chanting practices, such as Om chanting, Gregorian chants, or Kirtan, align the vibrations of the voice with intentional focus and spiritual purpose. Instruments like Tibetan singing bowls or shamanic drums add depth to this resonance, amplifying its effects. Even modern sound therapy, using specific frequencies or binaural beats, builds on the same principle. That sound is a profound integrator of mind, body, and spirit. Divine resonance is more than a practice. It is a state of being, a shared rhythm with the universe. It reminds us that sound is not merely heard, it is felt, embodied, and transformative. It bridges the tangible and the transcendent, connecting us to the sacred through the simplest yet most profound of acts, the resonance of a single sound. Fasting is one of humanity's oldest spiritual practices, observed in nearly every religious and philosophical tradition across history. From the austere fasts of the ascetics to the ritual observances of Ramadan, Yom Kippur, or Lent, fasting has been seen as a means to purify not just the body, but the soul. In the Vedic tradition, fasting, or upavasa, is described as a way to draw closer to the divine, aligning the physical self with higher spiritual principles. Similarly, the early Christian desert fathers regarded fasting as a path to clarity and connection with God. In Islamic practice, the fast of Ramadan is a time of discipline, reflection, and heightened spirituality, while indigenous traditions often incorporate fasting into rites of passage or vision quests, seeking renewal and insight. Across these diverse traditions, fasting is not merely an act of deprivation, but a profound process of transformation. It involves the deliberate discipline of the mind, the adaptive responses of the body, and a sense of spiritual attunement that transcends the material. Together, these elements form the triad of purity: disciplinary mindset, metabolic adaptation, and spiritual purification. This state begins with the disciplinary mindset, the mental focus and self-control required to abstain from food or other comforts. In the absence of immediate gratification, the mind develops resilience and clarity. Practitioners often report heightened awareness and a sense of mental renewal, as the discipline of fasting strips away distractions and reorients attention toward deeper truths. This clarity is not only anecdotal. Psychological studies show that periods of fasting can enhance focus and promote a sense of inner strength. The mental discipline of fasting triggers profound metabolic adaptations in the body. Deprived of regular caloric intake, the body begins to shift its energy metabolism. Blood glucose levels stabilize, ketones become a primary energy source, and cellular processes like autophagy, where damaged or unnecessary components are broken down and recycled, are activated. These physiological changes are more than survival mechanisms. They are often experienced as physical purification, a renewal of the body's systems that mirrors the mental and spiritual process. From this alignment of mind and body emerges the sense of spiritual purification. Fasting traditions describe this as a cleansing not only of physical impurities, but of the soul, a release of attachments and distractions that obscures the path to higher truths. Many report feelings of spiritual clarity, connection, and renewal during fasting, a sense of attunement to divine principles or universal truths. While these experiences are deeply subjective, they are echoed across traditions and can be evaluated through tools like spiritual well-being scales or qualitative narratives. The state of purity is deeply inclusive in nature, exemplifying the inclusive structure where each element integrates and amplifies the others. The mental discipline of fasting initiates metabolic renewal, which fosters a sense of spiritual purification. This spiritual clarity, in turn, strengthens resolve and aligns physical and mental processes with higher principles. It is a cycle of reinforcement, where the effort of fasting becomes a holistic act of transformation. Techniques for cultivating purity are as varied as the traditions they come from. Periodic fasting practices like intermittent fasting or upavasa provide accessible ways to explore the mental, physical, and spiritual benefits of abstinence. Religious fasts often incorporate prayer, meditation, or reflective study, deepening the connection between discipline and spiritual awareness. Even modern wellness practices, which highlight the benefits of autophagy and metabolic shifts, echo the ancient understanding of fasting as a tool for renewal. But purity is more than just a practice or a physiological state. It is an emergent quality that bridges the physical, mental, and spiritual, creating a sense of wholeness and alignment. It reminds us that transformation often requires letting go of comfort, of routine, of excess, and that in this letting go, we create space for renewal. Purity is not simply about abstaining. It is about embracing the clarity, resilience, and connection that emerge in the space left behind. Across cultures and epochs, the idea of losing oneself to find something greater has been at the heart of spiritual transformation. From the ecstatic dances of Sufi mystics to the visions induced by indigenous plant medicines, from the meditative stillness sought by Buddhist monks to the rapturous hymns of Christian mystics, humans have sought to transcend the confines of individuality to touch the infinite. This state of unity, where the boundaries of the self dissolve and the individual merges with the divine or the cosmos, has been described as one of the most profound and transformative of human experiences. The Upanishads of ancient India capture this sense of unity with the declaration Tat Tvamasi, you are that, expressing the oneness of the self with the ultimate reality. Sufi poet Rumi spoke of the self as a drop merging into the ocean, losing its separateness but gaining the infinite. In Christian mysticism, figures like Saint Teresa of Avila describe moments of union with God as ecstasies that transcend time and space. Indigenous traditions, through ceremonial use of entheogens like ayahuasca or peyote, facilitate experiences of interconnectedness with nature, ancestors, and the cosmos. Despite their diverse contexts, these traditions all point to a universal truth, that unity with the divine requires the dissolution of the ego, the surrender of the self. Modern science offers insight into the mechanisms underlying such experiences, revealing a triadic interplay of ego dissolution, neurochemical transformation, and cosmic unity. Together, these elements form the state of unity, where profound changes in the mind and body open the door to spiritual insight and transcendence. The journey to unity begins with ego dissolution, the temporary loss of the sense of self that disrupts habitual mental patterns and creates space for new perspectives. In this state, the rigid boundaries that separate me from not me blur, allowing for an expanded awareness. Studies using the Mystical Experience Questionnaire, MEQ, consistently show that ego dissolution correlates strongly with reports of unity and transcendence. Without the ego's constant narrative, the mind becomes free to perceive a deeper interconnectedness. Ego dissolution is facilitated by neurochemical transformation, the body's physiological response to altered states of consciousness. Psychedelic substances like psilocybin, LSD, or DMT activate serotonin receptors, particularly the 5-HT2A subtype, leading to increased connectivity between brain regions and a breakdown of default neural networks associated with self-referential thinking. Neuroimaging studies show this hyperconnectivity as a hallmark of transcendent experiences, creating the conditions for unity by dismantling the rigid structures of the ego. From this interplay of mind and body arises the pinnacle of the triad, cosmic unity. In this state, individuals report a profound sense of oneness with the universe, the divine, or all living beings. This experience is not merely intellectual, it is deeply felt, often accompanied by overwhelming awe, gratitude, and love. Phenomenological accounts and spiritual scales capture these moments as life-altering, reshaping personal and collective frameworks of meaning. The triad of unity follows a combination structure, where each element is essential to the emergence of the state, but their interdependence defines its depth. Ego dissolution disrupts the normal functioning of the mind, enabling the neurochemical shifts that make unity possible. Without the ego's surrender, unity cannot be fully realized. Neurochemical transformation catalyzes the brain's capacity for interconnected perception, but without the context of unity, it risks being reduced to mere physiological change. Cosmic unity completes the cycle, grounding neurochemical changes and ego loss in profound spiritual significance. reinforcing the transformative power of the experience. Techniques for cultivating unity are as ancient as the traditions that describe it. Meditation practices like samadhi and yoga seek to dissolve the ego through deep absorption in the present moment. Ritual use of entheogens, guided by experienced shamans, aligns neurochemical transformation with spiritual intention. Even modern approaches, such as controlled psychedelic therapy, are designed to facilitate ego dissolution in safe and meaningful ways. These practices are not ends in themselves, they are tools to open the door to the infinite. Unity is more than an experience, it is a shift in being. It reminds us that the boundaries we perceive between self and other, between mind and body, between the physical and the divine, are, in their deepest essence, illusions. When the ego dissolves, when the body aligns with the rhythms of the cosmos, we are left with the truth that has been echoed by mystics and seekers for millennia, that we are not separate drops, but part of the ocean. Unity is the realization of this truth, a state of profound connection that transforms not just how we see the world, but how we live within it. Gratitude, as an emotional and spiritual practice, has been celebrated across cultures and traditions as a source of profound well-being and connection. From the Psalms of the Hebrew Bible, which proclaim thanksgiving as a pathway to divine presence, to the Buddhist practice of mudita, rejoicing in the happiness of others, gratitude has long been recognized as transformative. The Native American tradition of expressing thanks to the earth, the skies, and all living beings illustrates gratitude as a form of relational harmony, connecting the individual to the web of life. Even in secular philosophies, such as the Stoicism of Marcus Aurelius, gratitude is revered as a means of cultivating resilience and perspective. Modern science has validated what these ancient traditions understood intuitively. Gratitude changes us. It not only shifts our mindset, but also alters our physiology, reducing stress and improving health. Gratitude reminds us that we are not isolated entities, but parts of a greater whole, intricately connected to others, to the natural world, and to the divine. This triad of grateful connection, comprising positive affect, reduced inflammation, and interconnectedness, illustrates how gratitude integrates mind, body, and spirit into a state of holistic well-being. The journey of grateful connection begins with positive affect, the enhanced feelings of joy, appreciation, and satisfaction that gratitude fosters. Psychological studies consistently show that people who practice gratitude experience higher levels of happiness and reduced symptoms of depression. Tools like the Positive and Negative Affect Schedule, PANAS, measure these emotional shifts, highlighting how gratitude rewires the brain for positivity. Gratitude changes our focus, drawing attention away from what we lack and toward the abundance in our lives, lifting the mind into a state of appreciation. This positive mental state has profound effects on the body, manifesting as reduced inflammation. Chronic stress and negative emotions are closely linked to inflammatory responses, which are implicated in a host of physical ailments. Gratitude, by reducing stress, alleviates this inflammatory burden. Blood tests show lower levels of C-reactive protein, CRP, and other markers of inflammation in those who cultivate gratitude regularly. The body, calmed by the mind's positivity, finds balance and resilience. From the harmony of mind and body emerges the spiritual dimension of gratitude, interconnectedness. Gratitude fosters a profound sense of connection to others, to nature, and to the divine. This sense of belonging is not merely a feeling, it is a realization of our place within the greater whole. Spiritual well-being scales capture this shift as individuals describe a deepened sense of unity, compassion, and purpose. Gratitude becomes a bridge, linking the individual to the universal. The state of grateful connection exemplifies the association structure, where the interplay of mind, body, and spirit creates a self-sustaining cycle of well-being. Positive affect and reduced inflammation support the emergence of interconnectedness, which in turn amplifies gratitude and joy, reinforcing the cycle. When gratitude aligns with spiritual awareness, It transforms the body's health and the mind's resilience into a living experience of connection. Practices for cultivating grateful connection are as accessible as they are profound. Journaling about things we are thankful for, expressing appreciation to others, and participating in communal rituals of gratitude are all ways to foster this triad. Mindfulness practices, such as meditation on gratitude, not only enhance positive effect, but also deepen the sense of interconnectedness. Even modern healthcare interventions like gratitude-based cognitive therapies highlight the growing recognition of gratitude's transformative power. Grateful connection reminds us that health, happiness, and spirituality are not separate pursuits but deeply intertwined aspects of a single reality. Gratitude, in its essence, is more than a practice. It is a way of being. It shifts our perspective, calms our body, and connects us to something greater, creating a state of balance and harmony that enriches every aspect of life. Throughout history, the pursuit of balance, within oneself, between body and mind, and between the self and the cosmos, has been central to human spirituality and wellness. Ancient systems of thought have long recognized that true harmony requires integration across all dimensions of being. Nowhere is this more evident than in the philosophy and practice of yoga, where the interplay of physical, mental, and spiritual alignment creates a state of integral balance. The Sanskrit word yoga means union, reflecting the practice's ultimate goal, the integration of body, mind, and spirit into a harmonious whole. Rooted in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, yoga is not simply a series of physical exercises but a comprehensive system for achieving spiritual and psychological balance. The physical postures, or asanas, are designed to prepare the body for mental stillness and spiritual awakening, creating stability as a foundation for transcendence. In Taoist traditions, a similar principle is seen in Qigong and Tai Chi, where deliberate physical movements are aligned with breath and intention to harmonize inner energies. Across cultures, the body is recognized not as separate from spiritual practice, but as its essential vessel. Modern science confirms what these traditions have long known. The body is a gateway to the mind and spirit, and cultivating physical balance can lead to profound emotional and spiritual benefits. The triad of integral balance, comprising mental equanimity, physical balance, and union with the self, illustrates how these dimensions interconnect to create a state of holistic harmony. The journey to integral balance often begins with the body. Physical balance, achieved through practices like yoga, enhances flexibility, strength, and autonomic regulation. Asanas stretch and strengthen muscles, align posture, and improve balance, creating not only biomechanical stability, but also physiological regulation. Autonomic functions like heart rate variability, HRV, become more balanced, reflecting a calm yet responsive nervous system. This physical foundation supports the next layer of integration, the mind. From physical stability arises mental equanimity, the ability to maintain emotional stability and resilience in the face of life's challenges. Yoga's deliberate movements and synchronized breathing activate the parasympathetic nervous system, reducing stress hormones like cortisol and promoting emotional regulation. Psychological studies consistently show that regular yoga practice enhances mood, reduces anxiety, and fosters a sense of calm. The mind, like the body, becomes steady and adaptable, prepared for deeper spiritual connection. Finally, from the alignment of body and mind emerges union with the self, the spiritual dimension of integral balance. In yogic philosophy, this state is described as connection with the higher self, or Atman, an awareness of one's unity with the divine or the universal consciousness. While deeply personal, this experience is often marked by profound feelings of harmony, clarity, and transcendence. It is a realization that the self is both distinct and inseparable from the greater whole. The triad of integral balance exemplifies the divergent structure, where each dimension is essential, and the absence of one disrupts the others. Without physical balance, emotional regulation falters, and spiritual integration becomes unattainable. Without mental equanimity, the body cannot achieve the stability needed for spiritual practice. And without spiritual alignment, the efforts of body and mind lack deeper purpose, leaving the triad incomplete. Integral balance is cultivated through practices that intentionally align body, mind, and spirit. Yoga remains one of the most effective tools, with its combination of asanas, breathwork, pranayama, and meditative focus. Other traditions like Tai Chi and Qigong achieve similar integration through movement and mindfulness. Even modern practices such as mindful stretching or somatic therapy reflect these principles, creating pathways to balance for contemporary life. Integral balance is not just about achieving physical stability or mental calm. It is about weaving together all aspects of being into a unified whole. It reminds us that our physical, emotional, and spiritual lives are not separate but deeply intertwined. When we align these dimensions, we experience not only balance, but a sense of wholeness, a resonance with the rhythm of life itself. Our journey through the states of serenity, sacred communion, energetic convergence, divine resonance, purity, unity, grateful connection, and integral balance reveals something profound. Spirituality is not confined to the mystical or the abstract. It emerges from the dynamic interplay of mind, body, and spirit, woven together into states that are both deeply personal and universally resonant. These are not fleeting moments or isolated phenomena. They are the heart of what it means to be human, arising when the dimensions of our being come into alignment. What makes these models compelling is their power to transcend reductionist paradigms. They show us that spiritual states cannot be reduced to mere neural firings or evolutionary byproducts. Instead, they are processes of emergence, born from relationships. Between focused thought and a relaxed body, between collective emotion and shared ritual, between breath and life energy, between the self and the cosmos. Each triad we have explored is a testament to the interconnectedness of existence, a reminder that no dimension of human experience exists in isolation. Neurotheology as a field stands at a crossroads. It has made great strides in identifying the neural correlates of spiritual experiences and the physiological changes accompanying them. But these discoveries are only the beginning. To fulfill its potential, neurotheology must embrace the full complexity of spiritual life, its relational, dynamic, and emergent nature. The triads we have examined provide a framework for this next step, offering a way to study spirituality not as a series of isolated variables, but as a symphony of interwoven processes. Consider the state of serenity, where mental focus calms the body, opening the spirit to transcendence, or the state of sacred communion, where shared emotions and physiological bonding create a profound sense of collective unity. Think of energetic convergence, where breath synchronizes the rhythms of mind and body to reveal the flow of life energy, or divine resonance, where sound vibrations align us with cosmic frequencies. Each state offers a unique window into how spirituality arises, not as a static property but as a dynamic process where different dimensions of existence converge. The implications for neurotheology are profound. By adopting these models, researchers can design studies that honor the interplay of mind, body, and spirit. They can measure neural activity and physiological responses while listening to the lived experiences of transcendence, awe, or gratitude. They can explore how practices like meditation, fasting, or communal rituals foster long-term transformations not just in health or cognition, but in the fundamental way we relate to ourselves, each other, and the universe. More importantly, these models invite us to rethink the purpose of studying spirituality. It is not simply about mapping where in the brain we feel awe or how rituals affect stress levels, though these are valuable questions. It is about understanding how spiritual practices cultivate harmony, how they reconnect us to a sense of wholeness in a fragmented world, and how they open doors to meaning and transcendence that science alone cannot explain. In honoring this broader vision, neurotheology can become a bridge between disciplines, between cultures, and between the measurable and the ineffable. It can draw on the wisdom of ancient traditions that have long understood the unity of mind, body, and spirit, integrating these insights with the tools of modern science to create a more comprehensive understanding of what it means to be human. This is not merely an academic pursuit, it is a calling to engage with the deepest questions of existence. As we close, let us remember that the states we have explored are not theoretical constructs, they are lived realities. They are the serenity found in stillness, the unity discovered in transcendence, the gratitude that connects us to each other, and the balance that grounds us in our bodies and lifts us toward the infinite. They remind us that spirituality is not an abstraction but a force that shapes who we are and who we can become. In this way, neurotheology is not just about studying spirituality, it is about participating in it. It is about weaving together the threads of science, philosophy, and tradition to illuminate the tapestry of human experience. And in doing so, it points not just to answers, but to a profound sense of wonder. And isn't that the essence of all great endeavors? Not merely to explain the world, but to deepen our connection to its mystery.